Muhammad mentioned in Vedas or in Bhavishya Purana? So people like Zakir Naik throw these bullshit stories, and their mindless followers are like, yay, our guy told us the truth. So this is so problematic. Let's just get on with this because this is very important. I wanted to talk about this. So someone came to my Urdu stream and he said, and I've uploaded this video, and I hadn't heard about this, so I had totally forgotten about it. I said, I don't know if I'm going to talk about. I didn't know about the details. So apparently, Zakir Naik had said that Muhammad was mentioned in one of the as a prophecy in one of the ancient books of Hinduism. So afterwards, in the comment section, people told me what that book was. So it is called Bhavishya Purana, which literally means the Purana about the future.
Yeah.
Purana about the future. So Purana future. So when we look into it, it's actually bullshit. That book has been written a lot later, and they are not prophecies. They claim to be prophecies, but they were written after the supposed events. But if we go by that, it is so ridiculous. It's a massive own goal, because if you assume that this is a prophecy about the future, but then the person who's telling the prophecy is painting that in a negative light. So let's have a look at this. So if you want to, so it is explaining the Bhavishya Purana, blah, 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 verse, blah, blah, blah. An illiterate Malaka, which means an illiterate foreigner, teacher will appear. His name is Mahamada. So this is supposedly a prophecy about the future. Mahamada. Okay. So Maha means big. Mada means, I forgot what it meant. Anyway, I think it'll come to us later on. So it doesn't matter. So there's a remarkable similarity between Muhammad. Okay, this is interesting. Is his name. And he will give his religion to his fifth class companions. So now there's other person saying that, okay, well, some people say that it is about Prophet Muhammad, but let's analyze that further. So all these verses are there. So to set the backstory. So there was this prophet a long time ago. There was this prophet. He crossed the river Sindhu. So he crossed the Indus River and he went towards the west. And then he ran into this. By the way, he was given from his God that a command that, people have forgotten about the real God. So go out and spread the message of God, blah, blah, blah. You know how they always do that. So this guy called King Bhojaraja. So he took it upon himself, and then he went towards the west, and then he ran into this desert, and he ran into this person, meets Mahamada. Some say this is Muhammad, the preceptor of Malaka Dharma, religion of the Malakas, who had arrived with his followers. Therefore, however, the king went to worship the image of Lord Mahadeva, the Lord Shiva, blah, 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 just a relevant detail. So he runs into this guy, Mahamada, and now what happens? Now, this is where it gets interesting. So Prophet Muhammad gets out of the Arabia, or whatever this area is. He comes to the river Indus River, and he says that he crosses the area of Afghanistan. There you go. Furthermore, even though it is described how King Bhojaraja conquered over the Gandharaja, the area of Afghanistan, Malacca is present-day region of Turkey, Shaksa, Kashmiris, blah, 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 Naravas and Satars. It never mentions that he went into the area of central Saudi Arabia where he would have had to go in order to meet the Prophet at that particular time when the Prophet had a following. So if we assume that this guy Bhojaraja, which is also a mythological character, if he went to Muhammad around 570 to 580 CE, or Muhammad died in 632 AD. So if he went in that area, there's no evidence he actually, even in their own sources, he went to Saudi Arabia. So what were the teachings? Now this is where it gets interesting. What were the teachings of this Malaka, this illiterate commander called Mahamada? What was his teaching? He said, "O king, your religion is of course known as the best religion among Mongols." Would Muhammad say that about Hinduism? I doubt it. Still, by the order of the Lord, I am going to establish a terrible and demonic religion. Would Muhammad say that I'm going to create a demonic religion and enforce a strong creed over the meat eaters, because Hindus don't like
Yes, I've heard this, that he's going to literally be a devil worshipper who eats meat. And then they came along and they ate so much meat, and the Hindus were like, yes, it's him.
So he says, my followers will be known by their cut circumcised genitals. Another Muslim trait. Yeah. They will have no shikha, tuft of hair on their head, which is like Brahmas. That part is a bit boo-boo,
No, they
but
have the
will have a
beards.
beard. So I don't think Islam encourages bald beards, like bald men with beard. I think Islam does include hair on head as well. Make noise loudly and eat all kinds of animals except swine without observing any rituals. So, so this is very Islamic teachings. But the key, okay, so let's just assume this is a prophecy. So if it's a prophecy, then it is, and you're assuming it's true. If you're assuming one part of it's true, then you have to assume the rest is true as well. It's purely logical consistency. But the prophecy is that this evil man is going to come and he's going to impose these religious teachings, like don't eat swine, eat meat, have circumcised penises, shave off your heads, and have beards. Notice the funny thing is, even though these are not central claims of Islam, the central claim of Islam is Tawheed, one God, and Allah is a messenger. So that is probably what Muhammad is going to focus on. But because these guys, the guy who's writing this so-called prophecy way after the fact, because he's only concerned about Muslims because of their meat-eating bit, the bits that offend them as Hindus. So obviously he's writing that after Muhammad's story has become popularized. So he's like, oh, in the West, there's a region, there's a new guy who claims about his religion. This is what he says: eat meat. Oh, evil. It's kind of like how Muslims think about Westerners, not by their good deeds, but the deeds that are in contradiction with their own beliefs. For example,
like they eat
immoral.
pork. Yeah, and they
eat pork. They're immoral people. They wear bikinis, and they're not concerned
have
about all the
sex
other
before
bits.
marriage. Yeah.
Yes. So just like that, this Hindu is obviously writing it way after Muhammad's life. He's heard this story and he's talking about the bits that offends them from a Hindu's point of view. Okay. That is the logical explanation. But now let's
And the shaved head bit could be because you saw a fresh haji come through.
Exactly. Oh, there you go. There you go. Because he heard about haji. Very good. Good point. I didn't think of that. So, but if you're going to go by the prophecy of that, Muhammad, he was foretold. That's what but then he's foretold in a negative light. They're saying that this evil guy is going to come and is going to enforce all of this circumcision and all of that. So that then are you saying that your prophet was an evil man who was forcing himself? And secondly, why your prophet coming to almost Indus River? Why is that not mentioned anywhere in the Hadith? Why is where you wrote every tiny detail to a point where actually that point would not be valid, because that Muhammad would not have known, because this is a prophecy according to their point of view. This is a prophecy about the future. So this is obviously a made-up story. If you're going to go by the prophecy explanation, then Muhammad is a bad guy. If you're going to go by the logical explanation that it was written after the fact, after Muhammad's life, then there's nothing special about it. So either way, you're screwed. But apparently I've been told that Zakir Naik actually did not go with this. This is some other second-grade people went with the story. Zakir Naik went with a different kind of a story, which is he's mentioned in the Vedas. So what is written in the Vedas? So apparently in the Vedas, can you see this? Okay, so apparently in the Vedas, there are two Sanskrit words which are written as samsata and narasamsa, which literally means an individual who praises and the individual who is to be praised, which is a literal translation of the word Ahmad and Muhammad. So Ahmad also means, I think, an individual who praises, and Muhammad means the one who is praiseworthy, something like that. So basically, any book, if it says something that means in their own language, an individual who praises or an individual who is to be praised, we're talking about Muhammad. That's his logic. So they're talking about their own story. They're talking about their own guy. But because it says an individual who praises and an individual who is to be praised, then it means it's Muhammad. So if my follower writes a book about me, Haris, or there's a better analogy. So if it says Harasa, if my name is similar to Harasa, means in Urdu harassment, or harass also harass, So if this is, so you find a little similarity and you say harassing, and because Muslims see me as someone who harasses them, because I talk about the religion, so they're seeing that as...
That's the harasser. Or it's the harasser.
So we had mentioned in our book that there would be a guy who would harass us, And this guy's name is Harris. Can't be a coincidence. Harris harasses. Yay! Problem solved. Whoop whoop. So this is what these guys do. In the Vedas, it's got no reference to Muhammad. It's got nothing to do with Muhammad. They're talking about their own guy. They're talking about their own praising and praiseworthy. And those words don't even sound anything like that. Samasata and Narasamsa, which means praise and to be praised, and the person to be praised. And that is Muhammad. Anytime if my follower ever writes the word Harris is to be praised, and Harris praises Richard Dawkins, then they're going to say, no, it's not about Harris, it's about Muhammad. He's talking about Muhammad. What kind of logic? Because their religion is so shaky and stupidly pathetic that they have to rely on these kind of bullshit.
No, it's just really, really sad that Zakir Naik would even have to rely on like any form. He's literally going for the vibe that I was trying to tell you about your book. Like, he's like, no publicity is bad publicity. If that's, I love how he ignored the other one where it's like, oh, this will be, a man connected with the devil who eats meat with uncircumcised dicks. But
that's
no,
why
the
I
good
didn't
one,
quote it.
Exactly. It's very clever, very clever,
very clever. But to be honest,
but
the other one is a lot similar. It's obviously written by Muhammad, about Muhammad, because even the name, they give the name Mahamada.
Yeah,
give it a name. I forgot somewhere in the article. It's written, but Maha means
funny.
big. Mada, I think Mada means something. I forgot what it's called. It's written somewhere in this article. I can't find that now. But so an illiterate.
Doesn't it mean something mother? Mahamada.
No, Mada means something derogatory. It is something derogatory. Yes, obviously, because these guys are writing, and look at this Bhavishya Purana. Even they are full of shit.
Yeah.
Even they are writing the book and they're saying, "Let me prophesize it. This is about the future," but it's not about the future. You're writing it after the fact because you are writing that with the intent to fool the later generations. But anyway, so these Bhavishya Puranas, some people claim they were probably written in the 12th to 13th century. So, I mean, the jury is still out there because there are no old manuscripts.
That's not
like
a prophecy then, really. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, it's not a prophecy. It's written by later people. But Hindus, they're just as dogmatic when it comes to their religion. They're like, no, oral traditions. They also have oral traditions. The oldest manuscript is from the 13th century. These Vedas and blah, blah, blah. It's from the 13th century.
No, I'm sure it's older, isn't it?
No.
No way. That's mind-blowing if that's true.
So in their own cases, it's the oral tradition that they rely on. Yet they make fun of Hadith. And at least in the case of Quran, we have Birmingham manuscript and what's the other one?
Sana?
The Sana manuscript, which is from 100 years or 150 years after Muhammad's death, or 100 years after Muhammad's death.
Yeah.
Birmingham manuscript is from roughly from the same time. In fact, the actual parchment that is written on is before the time of Muhammad. So obviously that explains that it's been around, the parchment, because they used to recycle it, whatever. So Birmingham manuscript is from that. So roughly it is at least from the alleged time. But in the case of these Hindu texts, scriptures, the oldest one is, I think, from the 11th or 12th century. There are some carvings on the mountains. There are some of those. So I'm not saying that the religion initiated in the 13th century. Yeah. But I'm just saying it's all up in the air. So how these books, Bhavishya Purana, which are like tertiary and secondary, not even secondary, they're definitely tertiary scriptures.
So it's not even that Purana, if that's what you're saying. Sorry, Purana means like old in basic Urdu or Hindi.
In Hindi it means something else. But anyway, so it's not even a respectable Hindu scripture by their own standards, and so obviously someone wrote it way after. This is the only logical explanation.
Can I just
Muhammad is not mentioned. So Muhammad is not mentioned anyway, either in the Vedas or Puranas. Yeah.
And just following what Harris said, I just want to comment on Ben's comment. He says this is like finding Muhammad in the QR code all over again. It really is. It's like clutching at straws here and just trying to find links. And you know what? As humans, we are very, very drawn to patterns and repetition. That's what we look for. We actively search it out. So humans are we're very complicated creatures or creations, whatever you want to call us. Not creations, creatures, I guess, would be the right apt word for this setting. Harris, the Vedas are definitely older. That's what I thought as well. I really can't believe that they come from the 13th century. I'm shook if that.
The oldest surviving manuscripts have been discovered in Nepal and date to 1040 CE. So 11th century, sorry, not not 10th century.
Is that the
13th century,
oldest
sorry, 11.
ever? Yeah, okay.
No, this is the oldest that has survived. So
Survived.
people claim. So obviously, there might be older than that, but
Okay, that makes sense.
Sorry, if we go by the hard evidence point, this is the oldest one. Sorry.
Yeah, because then people even say the Quran was memorized before that, but we're not giving into that.
So Muhammad is not mentioned in the Bible either. They claim that it's written in the Bible as well.
Oh yeah.
It's all made up. They're clutching
at straws.
They're clutching at straws because they got nothing on their side. To help me produce more videos like these, support me on Patreon or PayPal.